Mr. President, I rise today in solidarity with the brave Cuban people fighting for freedom. For decades, the Cuban people suffered atrocities, oppression, and misery at the hands of the illegitimate communist Castro regime. I've repeatedly told the story of Celia Villaleon, a Cuban woman who was attacked by communist Cuban security forces in 2015. They cut off her hand and stuck her arm in the mud to make sure it got infected. Her crime, she complained that the regime was going to shut down a school in her neighborhood. I've spoken to brave leaders like Jose Daniel Ferrer and the courageous members of his Patriotic Union of Cuba who are fighting every day to defend human rights, freedom, and the democratic movement in Cuba. Jose Daniel Ferrer is currently being detained by the communist regime. His family doesn't know where he is. Activists like Jose Daniel Ferrer and the artists of the San Isidro movement are the future of Cuba, not the ruthless communist regime. This is the same communist regime that for decades has been the root of the instability we see across Latin America. The communist Cuban regime props up other dangerous dictators like Maduro in Venezuela and Ortega in Nicaragua, threatening the region and the national security of the United States. What we are seeing now in Cuba should send a clear message to the world. Communism is a failed ideology that does nothing but lead to suffering and oppression. Communism doesn't work, socialism doesn't work. The people of Cuba are crying out for freedom. They are denouncing the oppressive communist rule that has brought ruin to their nation for more than 60 years. This disgusting assault on the people of Cuba cannot go unchecked. I very much appreciate my colleagues' efforts to condemn the atrocities of the regime. But this resolution is missing one thing. These atrocities are undeniably linked to communism. I stand today to offer a friendly amendment that simply condemns communism in this resolution, labeling the Cuban dictators Diaz-Canel and Raul Castro what they are, a ruthless communist Cuban regime. In America, we understand the value and importance of freedom in our everyday lives. It is our duty to support and stand up for those who are oppressed by dictators and denied the right to live freely. It is our duty to speak the truth about communism. I stand proudly with the heroic freedom fighters across Cuba that have taken to the streets determined to regain their freedom and put an end to the communist Castro dictatorship. To the people of Cuba, you're not alone. Together, we will defeat communism. The freedom of Cuba is closer than ever, and we're not going to stop until we see a new day of freedom, democracy, and patria vida in Cuba. I urge my colleagues to support my important amendment today. Therefore, I ask that the Senator modify his request to include my amendment, which is at the desk, so that the resolution as amended be agreed to, the preamble as amended be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made up and laid upon the table.